Good evening, race fans, gearheads, lovers of everything fast. This is the award-winning Race Talk, the fastest show on the radio. On 1470 WFNT, we'll talk to drivers, owners, track officials, and racing legends. And check out the local racing scene as well as NASCAR and so much more.
It's the fastest who gets paid.
And we'll talk to you too. And it's all here. 680-1470. 680-1470 to voice your opinions, queries, quibbles, commentaries, and criticisms. Or join us online at MichiganRaceTalk.com. Race Talk is brought to you by the new A&M Transmission Wizards, Benton Auto Salvage, the Woodville Market, Hubbard's Military Supply, Bob Kern's Auto Repair. So fire up your engine, tighten up your 5-point, and let's go racing.
Hey, shake it back, gal. Woo, shake it back.
Now, here are your Race Talk hosts, Larry Loines and Big Ed Inlow.
I feel need.
Oh, yeah, we are here. And it is Race Talk right here. Move your headphones away there. Yeah, that's for me. Maybe not it.
Ain't me.
Ain't me. Anyways, we're here. And it's Race Talk. Oh, my gosh. We're live on Flint's News Talk. 1470 WFNT, as well as racesontheweb.com. I got to tell you, Larry Loines, Big and Inlows, live out here at Beacon Sales and Service. And, boy, Mark out here from Mark's Hot Diggity Dog is making up doggers, and he's got these chili dogs, and I'm just trying this. It's called a West Virginia Slaw Dog. It's got mustard, onion, chili, and coleslaw. It's awesome.
And he's got one called the Macaroni. Mac and cheese, sour cream, and bacon on a hot dog.
That does not sound bad at all. I could go with that.
The Greek dog, tomatoes, mild peppers, black olives, feta cheese, pesto, and Greek dressing.
Holy guacamole.
Comes with a side of Anison.
Wow.
God, we've been missing you for a few years, man.
I haven't heard the word Anison in years. Good.
I used to know a girl named Anison. I'm not sure. Good night, everybody.
Lord have mercy. Hey, my name is...
Yeah, leave now, Ken.
That's Big and Inlows. I'm not going to get a word in edgewise because right now our next guest, number 648,
yes,
is the voice of the Springport Motor Speedway, Ken Friend. Ken, how you doing?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Nice to be with you here on a beautiful, sunny Wednesday night in Charlotte.
It is a beautiful day out here. I mean, we couldn't ask for a nicer day. I mean, I'll pray for Fridays and Saturday nights like this all season long. You know,
we could bottle it.
Yeah,
boy,
you could book them.
Whatever happened to the midweek races? Boy, I remember
money.
Man alive. You know, I've always thought that there might be room for a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night show. Well, I remember
us hardcore race fans do.
Yeah, well, you had the...
What was I, 12, 13 years old? I remember going to Spartan Speedway for... What, the old Promoters Association?
MSPA races,
Yep, MSPA races on Wednesday. So, we went to Tri-City on Thursday.
Yeah, but the Wednesdays, they would travel to all the different promoters that were part of the MSPA at that time.
Yep.
There weren't near as many as they are today from the Michigan Speedway Promoters Association. And you'd go to all these different tracks, dirt, asphalt. In the beginning, it didn't matter. Carling's was a sponsor back in the days of the 70s. It was Carling's Black Label MSPA circuit, and that was awesome. I actually went to a lot of racetracks for my very first time on them Wednesday nights. My dad taking me to them. Yeah, that's how I learned that there was more than just Auto City and Dixie. You know, growing up in the Flint area. You know, that's how I learned. Well, wow, this is a pretty cool world.
Well, you know, and you are remiss in your duties, my friend.
Oh, that's right.
You're supposed to start...
Well, Ken got that good funny right off the bat. He just got me laughing, I lost focus, and I'm completely off my game here, man.
These damn tracking out.
I know. What's up with these guys?
Wow, you know?
Well, we figure if you're brave enough to hang up here with us and talk some racing, that we feel you probably got to have an addiction to racing, Ken. So what we want to know is, how did your racing addiction get started?
Wow, you know, I always go back, you know... I go back, and I haven't found anybody to confirm it, really, but I remember the late 60s, going to the Jackson Motor Speedway. I lived on Union Street in Jackson, and me, our family, and the neighbors next to us, we would go to Jackson Motor Speedway, and as a kid, and I couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old, I remember falling asleep in the grandstands at the old Jackson Motor Speedway, just off of 127 and Parnell Road, and I remember my mom and dad had the neighbors take me home because Ken was falling asleep in the bleachers. But then I remember, and I'll go to my grave saying that Butler Motor Speedway had races on Tuesday nights back in the early 70s. I don't know why, that goes back to these midweek races.
The governor can't even learn that. He's looking at you going, you're on your own, Ken.
Everybody looks at Logan.
Yeah, everybody here looks at Logan.
I remember going to the dirt track at Butler back in the early 70s. Once I started to drive, I would go from my hometown in Jackson. Me and a buddy would come up on Friday nights, and we'd go to Spartan Speedway. This is mid-70s, when I first got my license. And that was about the time that I first visited Michigan International Speedway. And that's when I realized that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted that best seat in the house, and I had to do something. Well, first of all, I had to figure out a way to get into the races in Brooklyn for nothing because
get started.
Right,
work for a radio station, that works sometimes.
Right, and eventually I did that too. But I started out at MIS as a volunteer, working up against the chain link fence next to the racetrack, keeping people away from the racetrack. That got me in free, volunteering my time for the North Jackson Lions Club. That you'd show up at 7 in the morning and you'd go home at 7 at night. You'd turn around, you'd do it for 3-4 days in a row. They used to open up the gates in Brooklyn on Thursdays for practice, and so I started doing that. And then I wanted to be the announcer. So in high school, I started doing the football and basketball games as a student. And from that point, the radio guys would come and do the high school games, and they would sit next to me at the basketball court, and I'd rub elbows with them, and I was the 15 and 16-year-old kid that would ride his bike to the local remote and hang out and just bug the crap out of them.
What high school was this?
I had proud graduate of Jackson High School.
There you go.
The Vikings, the orange and black. And so right out of high school, I didn't go to college. I went to work for the local radio station, which then got me my media pass, and I could get into the garage and the video.
So when was your first track announcing gig? Do you remember where it was?
Russ and Pat Densmore, with the help and the leadership of Bill Lackey, got me in at Michigan Ideal Speedway in Springport, because if I was going to get a job in Brooklyn announcing, I had to hone my skills somewhere, and there was this beautiful new 3/8 mile in Springport. They were open a couple of years. Tom Krozak, one of my best friends in the world, was the first announcer ever. He announced that October 1989 event at Springport that Russ and Pat desperately had to get in the books for that year that they constructed the Speedway. And then Mick Schuler, rest his soul.
You are going back in time now.
Mick Schuler moved in there, and after Mick left, they invited me to come out there, and I spent 3 seasons there. Then I think I spent a year with the dwarf cars traveling around. Then I went to work at WITL in Lansing, 100.7 FM. And one day I was working there, they called me up on the phone and they said, Ken, the late, great Dennis Castile has passed away, and we need somebody to fill his seat at MIS. And joined Jim Mueller, and Mueller is still there. And Gene Haskett, the president at the time at the MIS, along with PR man Steve Brown, they called me in my office at Whittle and offered me the job at MIS.
And you said no.
And that didn't take long. That didn't take long, and I went to work for Mr. Penske, and eventually went to Rockingham Speedway, North Carolina Motor Speedway down there, Nazareth, Pennsylvania. That was a great little track to go and announce at, and that was a lot of fun. I did that for 6 or 7 years. My son Parker, you guys met him earlier.
Yep.
We had Parker, and I threw my cards in. I said, I'm all done. I'm going to be a stay-at-home dad. I'm going to raise my kid and let my wife further her career at General Motors, and that's where we are today.
And what happened? Now you're back at it again. See? Boomerang is what you are.
The first of this year, I was fortunate enough to get a phone call from Speedway Entertainment Group, and their partners. They invited me in, and it wasn't just it was a long decision.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't jump at it. I didn't, before when I announced it was, I wasn't married, and I had my Saturday nights free, and I could work Friday, Saturday, Sunday if I wanted to.
Yep.
But then, 20 years later, it was a different story. And Jeff and I talked for long and hard, and I didn't jump at it until I had a firm conviction that this was going to be a good deal.
Yep.
And these people are committed to running a good facility. It's never been cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
I think the days of 100 cars in the pits, are those days gone?
You never know.
Maybe they are.
I don't think so.
Not at the dirt tracks.
But you know what?
Yeah, not right now.
In the 2 nights I've been associated with Springport Motor Speedway, we've had over 60 cars, and that's pretty darn good.
That's good.
For just 3 or sometimes 4 classes. And I really feel that, you can compare 100 cars 20 years ago in the pits, at least at there's track. Some of the other tracks might on occasion get Kalamazoo, Berlin doing really well over there on the west side of the state. But I think these days, if we all were real honest about it, I think if you get 60, 70, 75 cars, I think you're looking pretty good.
70, 75 is the new 100 these days.
So that's my story.
You had a stint at Spartan Speedway, though, too. I didn't hear you mention that.
What was it? It was just before you started.
Yeah, exactly.
03, 04.
Still trying to put my feet in them big old shoes you left there, buddy. Between you, Lindahl, and Yost, man, come on.
Right, yeah. Greg Yost left 1 year, and Paul Zimmerman and Jim Leisure and Bill Lackey invited me in to fill that last half of the season, and so that is one great feather in my cap that at least I got to do a half a year right there at the corner of College and Cedar Street.
Now, you didn't get into this the way Tom Carnegie did. I mean, you didn't get left there. I mean, the story with Tom goes, and I met him when we were down there in Indianapolis. He said that he was helping the guy that was doing the announcing. He said, keep your stats and things like that. The guy left and went to the bathroom halfway through the race and never came back. And they said, you're the other announcer, right? And he went, okay. 62 years later, he was still the track announcer.
Well, when I was in 7th grade at Northeast Middle School, I had a history teacher named Keith Fisher. And Keith Fisher was the voice of the Vikings at Jackson High School. And he said, Ken, you can come, I'm 7th grade. You can come sit by me, sit behind me, during the basketball games. I'd go see Mr. Fisher, and boy, I thought I was something else. I'd run up to the concession stand to get him a Coke, and I was doing something. And so that was the very beginning, because Mr. Keith Fisher, a long-time teacher, administrator in the Jackson Public School District, he was the one that originally reeled me in, and then once I became a student at Jackson High School, he stepped aside graciously and told the athletic director, Mr. Bob Wright, said, hey, Ken Friend's been wanting to do this in 7th grade. Let the kid do it.
Yeah, really.
And that's a true story.
Plus, he probably didn't have to pay you either.
No, wait a minute. No, they did pay me. I think that was a $20 gig.
Wow.
Wow.
Back then for Ken, I suppose.
Geez, that's big money today. What do you mean?
Yeah, it really is.
I played on the golf team during the afternoon, and then at night I'd go up to the press box at the old Withington Stadium and do the football game. So
wow.
There it is.
Awesome. Well, you're at Springport now. Tell us what's going on this Saturday night.
Big Saturday night. We have 4 divisions going. It's Scout night. You know, any of the kids. Last week was Kids Night, and we gave away almost 20 bicycles.
Wow.
All of the kids came out of the stands during intermission to give away the bikes. Any of the Scouts, their leaders, are welcome to join us. They'll get it absolutely free. I think they have to wear their uniform this Saturday night.
You better get it right because the boss is staring.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I get them not. But
sure as that, yes.
That's true. Yes.
Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, the Brownies, all their leaders are welcome this weekend. We'll as every track will do and should do, we'll also remember those that really make Memorial Day what it is, and we'll remember those fallen heroes. We'll have, some of the racing last weekend at Springport, very, very tough to match, I'm telling you. They're up and down each division. The modifieds, Brian Rose and Dan Logan. Logan was driving Niall Weiler's car last week. They ran side by side for 12 or 15 laps. Chance Rice had the best seat. He was watching it the whole time. They were side by side, never touched each other. It was just fantastic. And
fun.
And Chance won his first feature ever. And it's moments like that.
Yep.
And you guys tell me.
Oh yeah.
It's moments like that.
Nothing sweeter than the first one, man.
It is funny. Never forget it. But.
And
now I want to talk to you a little bit about Indianapolis as well. This year, there was no such thing as bump day. 34 cars showed up and only 33 qualified.
yeah.
Do you think it's lost any of its luster? Is this going to be a fun race? The cars, they're just short of one little piece of sheet metal for being full-fendered cars now with that little pod on the bottom. And I get why they put that on there, because that's more of a safety feature than anything else. But do you think it's changing over into something it didn't used to be, or what?
Oh, man. I never went to the 500 until 2005.
Okay.
And as you're well aware, I've been a race fan for much longer than that, but I never went down to the race till 05, when I really felt that Danica Patrick had a realistic shot at winning it.
Yeah,
And the girl was leading the race with less than 10 laps to go, and they about tore those old grandstands down at the backyard.
Yep.
But this year, I think it'll be a good race. It's going to be a slower race. I'm all for speed. I want to see higher speeds. But the lower speeds, 205, 210, 212, these cars are going to make for better passing, more passing, I think.
Which I think is better than more speed.
Well, in our lifetime, and I've talked to some of my friends about this, in our lifetime, the search for speed is gone. There's no... you remember going to, mainly the big tracks,
Right.
You go to MIS, you go to the Brickyard, you go wherever, and there was always that chance that somebody was going to set that new track record and really blow it out of the water.
Yep.
And now it's it's a little orchestrated,
Yeah.
They can,
Well, because
they're tempering the speed.
With the rules.
Clarity, right. Another thing that bothers me about the 500, and this is, and I get it why they're doing this, but all the cars look the same. Do you remember the days back when you grew up watching, and I did back in the 60s, where innovation was one of the keys? Jack Brabham shows up with that little Mini Cooper to run around, the Indianapolis. What are you doing with the engine in the back? That doesn't make sense. And all the different innovations, the turbine car, and all that kind of stuff. You're never going to see that kind of thing.
Yeah, I just yesterday I was watching they had a replay of the 69 Indy 500, and I DVR'd the rest of them all day on ESPN Classic. But they showed the 69 500, and one thing I didn't know, Mario Andretti had a four-wheel drive vehicle that year. He had a four-wheel drive car. He crashed it in practice in a practice session.
Yep.
And he had to go to his backup car, which was then a two-wheel drive car. I never